Marks still remain then. Let's talk to Julia Bue-Said, CEO of Advantage Travel Partnership. That's a travel industry body supporting over 700 independent travel firms. She contributed to the government's global travel task force. And when you hear, Julia, that it's still not definite about May the 17th, how do you react?
It's very frustrating from a business point of view, but we completely understand why a cautious approach needs to be taken. Travel firms want to plan; they need to try and plan. Consumers want to plan, so it's very difficult all round. But certainly a cautious approach, given the reasons set out, is something that we all understand needs to take place.
It's a big worry for the travel industry that it'll just put people off booking.
I think Professor Mike Tealton, he made a really good point there. And I think when we think about the summer and the peak of the summer, we're still 4 months away. So whilst people do want to book, I think there is an understanding that, we've all got used to doing things at the very last minute. Our lives over the last 12 months have changed, changed completely. So we have some time. We still have time. The travel industry is really working really hard to make sure they can be in a position to welcome travellers when they do want to travel. But booking now you can book now, and booking now can be done with confidence because there are financial guarantees in place, and the industry's worked really hard to make sure that they can allow consumers who are desperate to book have something to look forward to for the future travel, and make sure that there are flexible options in place.
But with this travel light system, though, if a country's on the green list but then switches to another list, so then people could get caught up in that and find themselves having to quarantine in a hotel when they come home rather than come straight through with a simple test. I mean, that switch to another category, it implies even more complication, doesn't it?
It really does. And I was listening intently just now to our Prime Minister, hoping that we'd get a little glimpse of something, but nothing yet. So, and we'll be waiting for the Global Travel Task Force report this week to understand exactly what that criteria will be of what will allow countries to move from one category to the next, and actually if you're in a green country, for example, do you stay in that? Or what is the criteria that will move countries from one to another? And you're right, that's really important to understand so that we can plan accordingly.
How soon do you need to know in an absolute certain way what's happening?
It's a really interesting question. So for my members who are travel agents, they've essentially been shut down for 12 months now. They are desperate to trade, they're desperate to sell and desperate to help consumers. We are already selling, so travel agents are already selling customers operationally. Planes don't go into the sky straight, within a couple of weeks' notice. But the airline industry and tour operators have worked exceptionally difficult to make sure that they're ready from the 17th of May to kickstart and get passengers travelling.
Do you think there's a risk, though, that we could end up with only wealthy families being able to take the risk of booking a holiday and possibly then having to fork out for quarantine on return?
I think that's why it's really important that we understand what the criteria is and what the traffic light system entails. I think until that point, the travel industry has been an industry that supports many different types of customers, and there are holidays that are affordable for every demographic. So I don't accept that it's only for the affordable. I think nobody wants to risk being in a position where they're having to hotel quarantine or they're having to stay in a country that moves into a red list. Which is why it's critical we understand what the report is from the Global Travel Task Force and what the criteria will be as and when countries do start to, or if countries move.
And insurance coverage, of course. Yeah, it's very, very important as well. Julia, thank you so very much indeed.